Hey, welcome back to the Book of Dad Radio Show. I'm Dr. Robert Benson. As always, before we get started, we want to say thank you to Jehovah. Thank Him for His Son, Jesus Christ. Thank Him for our families. Thank Him for work and our ability to do the things we're able to do. Book of Dad Radio Show, and I have Eddie Ice G on the other side of things. What's up, Eddie?
What's up, man? How you feeling, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. It's that time of the year, man. I mean, we just had Veterans Day. The holidays are really getting ready to kick off in full swing, so everybody's trying to get their last, serious things done before we really start to enjoy ourselves over the next 45 days or so, if that's possible to do. But hey, listen, we got a great guest today. I'm not going to waste any time, with any kind of quips or anything like that. We're just going to say hello to a very, very renowned and busy and Chester's own talent, Mr. Christopher Mann. Hey, Chris, how you doing, man?
Hey, brother Rob, how you doing, man? Ed, you guys, man.
Yeah, bro,
I feel like I'm at a class reunion here, man. We back at home. This is great.
90210, man.
Exactly. Tremont.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm younger than both of y'all, much younger.
Yeah. Hey, remember everything started with 872, 874. Remember back at home?
That's it.
Yeah.
TR2, bro.
Way back. That's when DAS was on the AM.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Perry Johnson. What was her name? Denise Williams, all those folks that was on that DS. I remember them.
Gary
Some old school
Wells.
stuff. At Gary Wells, yes. But man, one more quick thing for sure, man, is that the real doc, Dr. J, is really actually a doctor himself. So we won't talk about Dr. Perry Johnson, who wasn't a real doctor. You know what I mean? So if you're gonna be a doctor, be a doctor. But Chris, what you been up to, man? I know you the industry is starting to come back around. We seem to be recovering from the COVID thing. How are things working for you, and what do you have going on right now?
It's slowly coming back. It hasn't quite got back into full swing yet. It's fortunately, I was blessed. I did work on a series that's actually streaming right now on Peacock. It's called The Calling. As a matter of fact, I wore the jacket just so you can see the name right there. It's called The Calling. It just dropped last Thursday, the 10th, and you can watch that. All 8 episodes dropped on there. It's a crime police drama. It's a really good show. But the industry is trying to come back. There's part of the problem is it's still with the pandemic basically, and there's mandates sometimes from some of the productions that everybody has to have the shots in order to work, and a lot of people, a lot of people don't want to get the shot, and because of that, everybody hasn't been really allotted the work or the opportunities to work like they want to. Matter of fact, I actually had a friend today, this very today, actually called me earlier, and he was being considered for a role in a series that's shooting here in Philly, and the casting director told him he had to have the vaccine and boosted in order to work. He said he got the initial vaccine, but he didn't want to get the boosters, and they literally just bypassed him just like that, man. Wow. You know what I mean? And that, it's happening. It's happened to me. Matter of fact, I didn't get the shot either, so it took me 2 years to get this job since the pandemic started, just to get that one job.
Oh, that's interesting.
So,
but the industry and life in general is people being opportunistic. And, when people don't fall in line with mandates, it really just kind of lays the carpet for other people to get involved or gives them an opportunity. And the unfortunate thing is death tends to do that too, which is an unfortunate situation. But but talk about this role you have in this new show, The Calling.
And that is another interesting point. My character, with all the Kanye and Kyrie Irving stuff going on, my character's name is Michael Rosen, which is. I thought about it. I said, wow, just in the midst of all the things that are going on, that's kind of crazy to have a character name like that. But anyway, my character is. He's involved in the first case because what they do with this, I don't want to say too much about the episodes because people probably haven't watched it yet. But each case that happens from the police department usually takes about maybe 4 episodes to get through each case. So I'm involved with the first case that's happening with the police department, and it's an interesting character. I like him because he reminds me of one of my acting teachers. He's a guy that doesn't blow smoke. And he, you know, somebody, matter of fact, I had a friend of mine who watched the episode and called me a dream killer. So my character, he's a hardcore kind of guy. I don't want to give too much up about it. But he's involved with a young man who may have had something to do with a kid being missing, and because he's one of my students, and I noticed some things, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But it's a really good show. It's a really good show.
Well, I'm most certainly stoked to watch it based on what you're telling me in here. But one thing I want you to think about, because we're getting kind of close to the break, is, you know, we hear the term typecasting, and I know you were in a police series in The Wire years ago. Do you find yourself, and this is kind of a two-part question, and we'll revisit, we're finishing on the other side. Do you find yourself looking to be stereotype cast, or this is even a deeper still question? Do you see yourself turning into any of your characters at any point in your life? Wow,
that's a good question. That's a good question. I mean, you want me to answer that now, or you want to wait till we come back from the break?
Well, just hit the typecast thing, and then let's talk about the other one when we get back.
So far, I don't think I've been typecast. I think I've been fortunate enough to land a lot of professional roles. Like I haven't been put into the corner where I'm the drug dealer and I'm playing that negative stereotype of the black man. You know what I mean? I usually book roles that are on a professional level, councilman. I've been a judge several times. I've been in positions where I hold some type of authority. So that part has been good for me. The one thing I want to play is just a normal family man. I want to do some, real, just work that people can relate to. Like, you're a family man, you got kids, then things happen in life situations that you have to deal with. So I want to do more of that real life stuff than more so than even being a professional all the time. Because in that role, you're kind of like, you have to play straight up and down. You can't really be yourself. You have to be that professional in that moment. You can't just be, human, so to speak.
Okay, well, we're talking to the great Christopher Mann out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a guy whose credits are as long as the block I live on. But I'm hanging out with my main man, Eddie G, and this is the Book of Dad radio show. Get us where you get your podcast. We're going to come right back and finish picking the brain of Chris. We'll be right back.
See why listeners from over 150 countries around the world follow the Book of Dad radio show. Join Dr. Robert Benson and Eddie G as they chat with special guests who share their stories and information that will change your life. Watch and listen on lifeandspiritonline.com or subscribe to the Book of Dad radio show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcast. Brought to you by the NASCA Network.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Book of Dad radio show with me, Eddie G, and Dr. Robert Benson, and today's super dynamic host, Christopher Mann. And when we took a break, he was telling us about some of the roles that he plays where he is a professional. And I understand what you mean, Chris, when you say you have to play that role up and down, because a counselor, a detective, I've seen you in all these roles, and in those roles, you have to be that profession, right?
Exactly.
But I do remember you as a family man in a movie called Loving, which was, I believe it was nominated for Academy Award, was it?
An Oscar, yeah. Ruth Negga, she got nominated for that role. Yes, she did.
That was a great film. Now, you played her father, right?
I did play her father. And that, so that was off the beaten trail for me, I loved the opportunity. And it's a great movie. They told a great story, and it was very important when it comes to race relations in this country and where we've come from and how not too long ago it was that bad. And it's still, we still mirror some of those things today. We gotta say what it is. The world has not changed a whole lot. But for that character, for me, which I did love, but the story was still more geared toward the couple and their friends, because the father and the mother really didn't have a lot of dialogue. You know what I mean? In the movie, I mean, it was a quiet type of role, and everything was internal for me as the actor. I wish they would have been a little more interaction. Because actually, I actually met their daughter. She at one of the screenings that we went to, and she said specifically that her mother was a daddy's girl. So I think there really would have been a little more interaction with her dad, and especially with their situation they were going through. But like I said, the onus for the writer and the producers were to tell basically their story, not get too much involved with the whole family. So, but I mean, it was good. I had some good stuff in there. I enjoyed working with them. It was a great crew, great directors, producers. I mean, everything. It was really a touching moment, man, because even the crew members, because these guys come off of movies like Spider-Man and all these multi-billion-dollar movies, and all of them were so more invested in doing that than they were movies like that like the Marvel and all these big budgeted movies. They loved doing that movie. Wow. Just the importance of it.
Wow, that's a great point. And inside of all the roles you've done, and the thing that I wanted to kind of revisit is how much of those roles and playing those roles have actually rubbed into your personal psyche, where you find yourself actually behaving like a role that you've played in a movie. Or do you ever find yourself doing that?
Hey, that if I haven't noticed it, Rob. I need to go ask my wife. Yeah, I'm not acting like anything. Am I? You know what I mean? Because I was shy to say that I do, because I mean, like Ed said, a lot of the roles I play are professional roles, and I've never been a council member. I've never actually been a cop or a detective or a doctor, but I've played them all. I played a judge. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Yeah, I've got a degree from emotions, man. You know what I mean? It didn't come from actually being in the profession. You know what I mean? Or I've taught. I mean, but I know doctors. I know a lot of professionals. So I get the demeanor and what it takes to put yourself in that place. I mean, it's life. You know what I mean? And the severity of the situation that you're in, you have to be in those moments. So I get that. I don't know. I can't say that I actually become any of those characters. No, I don't think so. Yeah.
I had a quick question as well.
Okay.
So I'm watching television. I'm minding my own business. Commercial comes on, there's Chris, right?
Uh-oh.
Turn the channel, Law and Order's on, there's Chris. Turn the channel, The Wire comes on, there's Chris. I'm like, yo, man. He's like Beyonce. Every time I turn around, I see your face.
Oh, that's funny.
And you don't call me every time you're on, so you need to call me. So I'm prepared, man.
Oh, well,
So my question is, how many films and movies and commercials, if you know, have you been in?
Oh. I know what's posted on IMDb is like close to 80 productions, but everything's not on there. So I'm looking at somewhere around 80 to 100 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, Chris, let's go back to the roles thing, because in this next segment, we're going to talk about you as a producer and your elevation in the industry, as it were, besides, being in front of the camera, behind the camera is what we're looking at talking to you about next. But I've heard some really, really extensive stories about how people have prepared themselves for roles. I heard that Jamie Foxx actually glued his eyes shut so he couldn't see to prepare for the role of Ray. Mm-hmm. Have you ever gone to those extremes with preparation, or what is your litmus, if you will, to let you know that you are ready to play this role?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Yeah, when that role comes, you'll know what you need to do to get there. I mean, there's I was I was slated to do this one role. It didn't fall through, but I was going to play the role of Cecil B. Moore.
Oh,
Long story, and for several years I've been working with these guys trying to get the project off the ground. So the longer it took, the more I was absorbing more of his character. You're going over all his material. I actually met his daughter, talked to I met a couple of his daughters, as a matter of fact, and one of them is an actress. You know what I mean? So I've talked to family members. Um, um, I studied and it's funny because the era that he was born in, my aunts and uncles on my dad's side were all around that age. My aunt, so I kind of knew the demeanor and the behavior of those people. So, I study them. I study how they act, their attitudes about things and whatnot, so you go into, and, anything that you can get to that's going to put you in that space, you know what I mean? Because it's all, I'm a person now. I've grown to the point where I don't believe in time anymore. Anyway, everything happens in the now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when you dig into these people and I start to understand where they are, you bring those moments into this current moment and you live it with them, and then you bring that to the character when you're. And that's what that was what I was building up to, to play this role. Unfortunately, it didn't work out the way I wanted them to. But yeah, I mean that would have been the one character that I dug a whole lot into. Theala Brigida from Loving, the father. Him, I drew off of. Our family is from North Carolina. They were from Virginia. Mm-hmm. A lot of similarities with, how my uncles and grandmothers and all them grew up. So same thing with that. I was studying them and remembering and just drawing off of everything that I knew as a kid, about my uncles and what it would take to make this guy real, to make him, to be in that moment for him. Yeah, you do. I mean, I haven't had to glue my eyes shut or anything, you know what I mean? But I mean, if the road calls.
I just heard that, man. I heard that.
Develop a limp, you know what I mean? Or whatever you got to do, right. Get your hair processed, it's all kind of stuff that can happen.
Whatever it takes to make it believable. I get it. Yes, hey, sir. Great answer, Chris. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more to you about your producing efforts and what you got going on there. But this is the Book of Dad radio show. I'm Dr. Robert Benson with Eddie H.G. And be sure to check us out on our websites and everything. We got all kinds of stuff you can buy from us. We are both available for speaking engagements and things like that. So please check us out and solicit us. But anyway, Book of That Radio Show. I'm Dr. Robert Benson, Eddie G, and we'll be right back.
You have something special. You have greatness in you. Hello, I'm Les Brown, Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. I want you to spread the word to your family members and friends to listen to LesBrownGreatnessRadio.com. Absolutely. And let me share with you why we're going to be focusing on positive things, because whatever you focus on the longest becomes the strongest. And now more than ever, when the suicide rate has increased over 33%, when the suicide rate of young children between 5 and 11 has doubled, people feeling hopeless and stressed out and powerless. We need programming that can bring out the greatness in them. And that's what we will be focused on. When you listen, it will be an experience that will transform your life. LesBrownGreatnessRadio.com. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, and we're right back. Dr. Robert Benson, Book of Dad Radio Show. As I said before, be sure to get us where you get your podcast. But you're familiar with the show The Wire. You're familiar with the movie called Loving. And now there's a show on Peacock called The Calling. And it's starring none other than our friend and our childhood friend, our great and renowned and accomplished actor, Mr. Christopher Mann. Christopher, when we left off, we were talking about stuff about you in front of the camera. You're making that transition to the other side of the camera. Talk to us a little bit about that and any obstacles or things that you're seeing that's going to allow you to, that's facilitating you to get to that next level that you're trying to get to.
Yeah, well, I've worked on several independent projects. We did the Underground Kings and what was there? What Death Leaves Behind, and another guy named Josh Coates, who I helped produce another film. It's called But Deliver Us from Evil. it's challenging, man. When you get on the production side, when you're trying to put a team together, just like with the Cecil B. Moore piece that I was working on. You try, you have to put your pitch packages together. You got to try to get your attachments, and then go get the money. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Like I said, the pandemic has still slowed things down. So since things aren't in full bloom, it's still a little challenging. It's I don't know, man. And it's funny because like you meet people. I met a young lady recently. I won't say her name, but she's a producer. She has a show on right now, and they know your work. And it's really weird with us. I hate to say this, man, but like with us, sometimes we don't really gel like we should. You know what I mean? I see other people, other cultures who seem to be more willing to pull together to work with you, but we seem to have a little. I don't know what it is. It's a little disheartening sometimes, man. But I'm hoping for things to change. You know what I mean? That's a good question, Rob. I'm telling you, man. But I'm in it. You know what I mean? When as a matter of fact, I was just talking to my buddy John Canada Terrell about another project that he's trying to get in as a producer on, and he was talking to me about whether I wanted to come in. So I have to negotiate this conversation once we get to it and see if it's worth into. But yeah, I want to produce some more things. Or even some work for myself, even just creating more work for myself, making my own avenues too. You know what I mean?
I see.
That seems to be that might be the actual path I need to take now to move things further from where I am right now.
I see. But now we've touched about all we can within this short time frame. But the thing I want to ask you about is the representation end of it. Obviously, you have to approach this thing from it takes a village to raise a child thing, if you will, because everyone that I've talked to who's in the industry as you are, they can't do this by themselves. They have to have certain team members and certain disciplines and expertise in their corner. What are some of those things that you've had to have in your corner? Who's representing you, and what is it that keeps you out at the forefront besides yourself that's making you maintain the level of success that you are?
Agents and managers are core for anybody, that approach this living, this career. Because the industry is set up where, production companies put out their breakdowns, and you need an agent or a manager to get the breakdown to submit you for the roles. Unless you're fortunate enough to be in a position where you can get into a production before they put you become what they call an attachment. That means that you're attached to the project before it comes out, and you don't have to worry about running to get the job because you're already attached to the project. You know what I mean? You help. Yeah, you become an asset to the project where they'll hire you just so that you can help draw in more money and whatnot. So you don't have to worry about that part of the industry. But for anybody that's working their way up, you need representation. You have to have somebody that believes in you and knows who you are, because when they submit, you want them to submit you for roles that fit you, not stuff that doesn't fit you. And I've been in that situation before. I had people submit me for 70-year-old people, man. I've had, like, you know what I mean?
And you don't look a day.
Don't rush me. You know what I mean? So and here's another thing. I mean, this is like this. It's an issue. I call it the pimp game for some of these some representation. It's a pimp game. All they want to do is submit and get as many people booked on a gig right now, because that's their percentage coming in from all the people they can get work to. But they don't necessarily worry about the type of role that they're submitting you for and whether it's helping your career. You know what I mean? Because there's some roles that you'll do, and you're like, man, I don't really need this right now. But they don't care. I want you to do this job. Yeah, you want me to do it because you want your cut. But is it moving me forward? You know what I mean? So you have to have somebody. You have to have somebody that's really, really eager to move you forward and get you in the position where you can blossom and really become what wherever you set your bar. You know what I mean? Because I set my bar high, man. So I'm still jumping. I'm ready to pole vault this. You know what I mean?
So you need somebody that's invested in your success instead of, as you said, a lot of times it becomes a conveyor belt and it becomes a percentage. You know, I want residual income off of each actor I represent, not necessarily taking this particular actor to reach the heights that he wants to reach. But in my case, I just want to make some money. And that's where
I call it the hamster
difficult
wheel
cycle, right?
Yeah, it's the hamster wheel, man. You know, you just running on that running on that wheel. And it's like a rocket. You say rocket chair keep you moving, but it don't go nowhere. You know what I mean? It's like you want to move. You want your face out there. I mean, some people hire PR people. You know, you have agents, managers. You might have a PR person. You know, but then that's you selling out money for them because you got to pay them to promote you. You know what I mean? Social media, it helps a little bit. You know what I mean? Because you can try to promote yourself some. But yeah, it's a hustle, man. It's a serious hustle.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that, man, because I can remember a couple different up and coming stars who took roles that pretty much ended their careers because of what they did, or it severely delayed them for decades. I don't want to mention this person's name, but I remember a role they did that they were advised not to do, and you didn't hear from them for years after they did that role. I don't want to say who that was, but Chris, you know, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show. We're pretty much out of time, but we'd like to give you an opportunity to tell people how to get in touch with you. Anything that you, any closing remarks or advice you'd give to the aspiring real quick.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm on Facebook as Christopher Mann. I'm on Instagram and Twitter as Chris Mann Senior, SR. Yeah, you can find me on there. I'm on Twitter. I mean, I'm not Twitter, but TikTok too. I do a little bit of videos on there. Advice, man. I always say be true to yourself. Oh man, this is when you get to the core of who somebody, because I want to give something that's really valuable and not just some shallow stuff, man. You know, you be true to yourself. Have good people around you. Believe in yourself. And keep your thoughts positive. You know, I know I fell into a thing, oh man, this is going to happen. This in the industry, this has got to happen because, and you fall into that and you believe it enough to it actually. So to the point where it becomes your reality. So stop listening to anything negative that people say. I mean, they think they're being helpful, you know what I mean? But the scripture even says, so as a man think and believe, so shall he be. You know what I mean? So if you think and believe these things, then you call them into fruition for yourself. So always stay positive. You know what I mean? Do your best. Enjoy life. Live in the now. Live in this very moment. Be happy at this moment. Don't worry about what's going to come and what's happened in the past. If you can be happy right now, tomorrow will take care of itself.
Yeah, right. That's it.
Hey, that's great advice, brother. I like that.
Absolutely.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Also, you can get this broadcast everywhere you get your podcasts. Get us on YouTube. Visit us on our website, bookofdad.net. And don't forget, Chris, let them know where they can watch your latest project.
Oh, yeah. You can check out The Calling right now. It's streaming on Peacock. There's 8 episodes for the first season. The more people to watch, the more you guarantee a second season. Good show.
And you heard it from Chris Mann and Eddie Ice G on the Book of Dad radio show, Life and Spirit Online. Well, we're going to close out the show with a quote as usual. And the quote I have today is kind of about figuring out your niche and finding out how to become who you are. And it simply goes like this. Take me as I am is a cop-out and a refusal to buy into being what is required. It's Book of Dad radio show. Dr. Robert Benson. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.